Hello and welcome to ChrisCourse channel Short Answer Sundays. Today we're going to be playing Super Meatboy because I've given up on the idea of just doing free games. So yeah, what we're going to do is play whatever game I feel like. Some of them may be free, some of them may not. So I'm going to try and get through as many levels as possible today, is the plan. If you don't know this game, the objective is to collect that pink lady there that I just grabbed. She is Bandage Girl. She is your girlfriend. You're a piece of meat. You have to save her. That's all the plot there is, basically. But yeah, buy the game, play it. It's great fun. It's also extraordinarily frustrating and you'll want to hit something by the end of it. Right. Okay, on to the first question. What happens to the sulphur in gas when it burns? Actually, it's not a pure sulphur, it's a sulphur-based compound known as mercaptan, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is, as I'm sure you know, is added to the gas so that we can detect it and smell gas leaks. And it's a great choice for that, as almost all humans are capable of smelling it, and we can do so at concentrations down to much less than 1 part per million, so we notice even a small leak before it becomes a problem. The smell vanishes once the gas is lit, as mercaptan is essentially a hydrocarbon with a sulphur atom in it, and as such it's flammable and it burns along with the gas, and the sulphur ends up as a chemical that our noses aren't even close to or sensitive to, so we don't smell it anymore. A word of advice though, don't actually sniff it too much, because it is actually a fairly potent neurotoxin. Do bear in mind though that the odds of you running out of the room to vomit from the smell are really high before it reaches dangerous concentrations, as are the chances of a spark going off and blowing you up. So, yeah, whichever way you look at it, gas, bad thing, leave gas alone. Number 2, what's your preferred type of power station? This is sort of going back, I assume, to the early Black Mesa videos. Unless the Matrix counts, then theoretically speaking, it's fusion. Because, you know, something about making an almost unlimited amount of power from a tiny amount of fuel in the same process used by the humongous thermonuclear sky furnace we orbit is kind of cool. If I'm restricted to ones that are actually currently viable, I have to go with nuclear fission, I'm afraid. Much as I like the idea of the alternatives, nuclear is safe, it kicks out a lot of power, and it provides excellent material for intellectual arguments with people on the internet, which, you know, I'm eternally grateful for, because I spend a lot of time doing that. Number 3 is, do you think we'll ever achieve FTL travel? And quite possibly, yeah. Maybe not in our lifetime, and probably not in any way we've managed to envision so far, but it doesn't rule it out. The argument currently goes that there's no real evidence of its possibility, but 100 years ago we hadn't figured out manned flight, let alone any of the crazy quantum physics and particle physics we have today. A century ago, the idea we could, you know, access the sum of human knowledge for free from a device the size of a matchbox that can also drive 3D games on a screen with a couple of million individual pixels would have gotten you laughed out of the room, and rightly so. If you told a leading scientist a couple of centuries ago about entanglement, then he'd probably have tried to get you institutionalised for being a complete nutcase. It's inherently impossible to predict where scientific discoveries are going to take us on account of the fact they haven't happened yet. And ruling things out is idiotic until we have proof it's impossible. So till then, I'm superluminally agnostic, as it were. Fourth question is simply, so, retina displays. Marketing crap. Essentially. Some of Samsung's new stuff has hit absurd levels, like 420 pixels per inch, which is totally worthless, essentially. I mean, why ram an HD resolution onto a device when it would look exactly the same at, you know, half to 3/4 of that? Pushing displays up to the actual resolution of the human eye and a bit beyond for people who have, you know, better eyesight than the average person is a good thing, but pushing it past that point for the sake of just marketing a high PPI figure has exactly the same vibe to it as the megapixel war does in cameras, and it's really quite frustrating, because manufacturers are basically pissing money up the wall chasing a statistic, because, you know, people buy stuff based on that, which is annoying, but is unfortunately marketingly correct. Right, this is the Dark World, incidentally, which is exactly the same levels as the last one, but it ramps up the difficulty something awful. So I'll probably die a few more times on this one. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, if manufacturers stopped throwing money up the wall, they could spend money on more useful things like increased battery capacity or working on projects like Google Glass. And speaking of which, question 5 is, what do you think of Google Glass? It's great in theory. If you need to know something, just ask and a Wikipedia page pops up in front of your eye. You're lost, and you ask and get instant directions laid out in 3D on the pavement in front of you. Want to call someone? You've got a built-in speaker and microphone. It's a fantastic gadget. Until we get a contact lens version, or eventually one that just flicks impulses off down your optic nerve, it's the most interesting emerging gadget at the moment. The problem comes with the fact that it's being sold to humans. And that means we can't take them to lots of places without people being suspicious we're filming them, and with good reason, because there are lots of people who do that kind of thing. I'd certainly be a little uncomfortable if someone with them on was staring in my direction, but yeah, having them automatically broadcast a signal to other ones in the area or something so everyone can see when someone has a camera on would work, but it would require everyone to be wearing them, and it would be really easy to bypass. So there isn't really a solution that couldn't be taken out by someone who knows what they're doing. The counter-argument to that, of course, is that people can film you already if they like, but glass does unquestionably make it easier, and it's an unfortunate privacy concern that might hamper the uptake of an otherwise brilliant technology, so I'll be interested to see how Google intends to solve that problem, if it indeed does. Number 6. Hydrogen-fueled cars or battery-powered cars? Essentially, I imagine batteries are going to come out on top in this one. At the moment, they're pretty awful for that kind of thing, but once one of the emerging battery technologies kicks up over the next few years, battery-powered cars are going to become very reliable and very realistic. Whereas at the moment, you just don't get the range that you need for a car. I'm going to have problems with this one, aren't I? Oh god, this is where it starts getting slightly tricky. There's actually a few little challenges in at this point. Actually, I'm kind of hoping I don't finish the Forest Dark World, because the next one after the forest is the hospital, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get there at this rate, but yeah, I don't like the hospital one. It's got mechanics like fans and things in that I am miserable at. But yeah, you might see that firsthand if this goes well, which it's not. But yes, battery technology, as I said, is coming along. And while hydrogen is theoretically a great solution, there's one thing that will stop it in its tracks, which is it would be vastly, incomprehensibly expensive trying to sort out the pipelines, the tankers, and the safety mechanisms required to actually get it into your car. Whereas electric charging points can be manufactured and simply hooked into the national grid with no real modification. And basically, where politics is involved, ease and lower cost win every single time. So, yeah, batteries, basically. I would be really surprised if hydrogen power wins out over batteries for cars. Okay, I've got to do a slightly longer jump there. Oh, bugger. This is where it slows down. The first few levels were really fast. This won't be. I have played this game a lot before, by the way, if you hadn't guessed. If you haven't played this game before and you think, oh, I'll give that a go, that looks fun, you will not go this quickly through it the first time. I haven't played this in a couple of years, granted, but it's kind of still ingrained into muscle memory from the amount I played this. My death statistic is up in the hundreds of thousands on this. It's an extremely fast-paced game and you die very often. Okay, moving on to question 7. Do you enjoy science fiction shows, or do the scientific inaccuracies get in the way? Yes, I enjoy all manner of science fiction shows, from the realistic ones, in humongous inverted commas like Star Trek, to the totally absurd ones like Doctor Who and Red Dwarf and that kind of thing. Whether the science is crappy or not is kind of irrelevant, really. They're a fun genre and infinitely more intellectual than, reality television. And on that note, I'll actually quickly talk about the new Star Trek film that's coming out soon. I dislike this new franchise, basically. The action's great, some of the actors are great, looking particularly at Cumberbatch in this new one. And the films are generally enjoyable to watch, they're fun to watch, but the plot has sod all in common with the basic principles behind Star Trek. I'm aware that the films wouldn't sell otherwise at the moment, but they could easily have just started up a new franchise rather than trying to ride the good name of Star Trek, which is effectively what they're doing. It's not that they're attempting to perpetuate the franchise in any way. They're thinking, ooh, we can get some extra money out of this. Go. Oh, piss. Back to the beginning again. Right. Number 8. Is microwave food inherently unhealthy? No. Basically, cheap microwave food is inherently unhealthy, but so are cheap pre-made oven meals and that kind of thing, and I challenge anyone to argue that a microwavable madras is less healthy than burgers and chips. Oh god. Odds of me getting this first time? Low. However, it happened. Hey, that's gratifying. Microwaves are a fast, energy-efficient way of cooking, which is a lot more than can be said for a conventional oven cooking a meal for one person. If you live alone, get yourself a microwave and a halogen oven, or a small tabletop conventional oven, and stop wasting absurd amounts of energy heating up a chamber with 100 times the volume of your food. Conventional ovens are ridiculously wasteful for one person. If you're a family, though, do carry on, because the small oven isn't particularly viable. Oh, frustration's not going to set in quite yet. Give it a couple more levels. Here we are. There we go. Up, and across. There we go, right. So safe. And we're back to this one, but with many more saw blades. And some of the shooting down this wall, which is monumentally unhelpful. Bugger. And this way. Goodness sake. This is where you start to rack up the deaths. You do one thing wrong, and then you kind of... Oh, come on. You get into a pattern, and you keep making that one mistake, and it keeps killing you. Here we are, that's better. Right, and now we just have to not... Oh, okay, we can save this. We can... There we are. Recovery. Oh, cock. This could take a while. I'm not very good at returning these. Right, question 9. How about the gravity gun? Is that a viable technology? Referring to the Half-Life 2 gravity gun, obviously. If you don't know what that is, shut up, stop watching this video, go play Half-Life 2, you're 10 years out of date. But the answer is no. I mean, I said earlier we shouldn't rule things out on account of not knowing where science is going, but no. That thing screws with so many laws of physics, it's unreal, and I will eat my hat if that ever becomes a thing. It's not going to happen. Look, can we please complete this level, brain? Yes, there we go. I like it when my brain responds when I talk to... Oh, cock. Okay, see, now it's imposed a speed limit, though actually I think it's possible to jump through the gaps on those blades, if I recall, and end up behind them. Do they cycle back round again? I think they do. As I said, I played this game quite a lot and screwed around with it and tried to break it and that kind of thing. Because, yeah, that's the kind of person I am. I get obsessed with little things like this. I poured a lot of hours into this game. Okay, now, moving on to the final question, number 10. If you could be born in any era in the past or future, when would it be? That's inherently an entirely impossible question. Who we are as people is shaped by our environment as we grow up. If I was born 50 years in the future, even if you say there's a condition where I have exactly the same parents, my life would be utterly different. I'd have had different experiences through it with different technologies, and I would be unrecognisable as a person, as would everyone else in the same situation. And to be honest with you, I think I was born at a great time. I wouldn't change it even if it was possible. I was part of probably the last generation to use floppy disks and, zip drives and that kind of thing. Disk drives are going to go obsolete soon as well. I've been able to watch computing technology rise at a truly absurd pace. We're at an advanced level of technology, so we're comfortable and happy, but we're not so advanced we're technologically stagnant, so there's still discoveries coming out. And frankly, it's a brilliant time to be around if you're a scientist or an engineer. Live in the present and all that, don't look to the future or the past, just enjoy what is going on. Okay, let's try and finish the forest world then, and I will stop before going on to the hospital. If I do not die on these saws. Okay. I'm really good at dying at the last minute on... Told you. Dying at the last minute on levels like this, which is a really frustrating thing, but it's frustrating, but it's not that bad because the game is so fast-paced. There's literally no delay in respawning. You die and you're back at the beginning. It's kind of a punishing game, but it's great fun to play. And that is the end of both the light and dark forest worlds. So we will leave the video there. Please leave your suggestions for next time in the comments. Any questions for long or short answer videos are great. I hope to see you then. Thank you very much for watching, and farewell.